long as he's got a pink sweater on, everybody, like Mr. Rogers, everybody, they okay, you know. But now I want to talk about, I want to talk about stuff like fruit of the Spirit, gifts of the Spirit, and love and joy and all that. But I had to try to be obedient to the Spirit of God. And I know I'm tired of the COVID thing, but I just don't see nothing get really better. I mean, they closed down pools. They closed down Grandeur County Tomato Festival. That one set me off for some reason. I'll never go anyway, but made me mad because there ain't nobody in Grandeur County got it now. But they're going to close the festival down over it. And this ain't just America. It's worldwide. And it's funny, though, because it seems like the only places where people's really got it is in liberal areas. I ain't bringing politics. I'm just talking about it's the God-hatingness area seem to be where most people has it for some reason. And they haven't been that many people around us. And all the counties around us, there's not been that many, even counting Knoxville, there's not been that many people had it. And I believe most of us had it this winter. Because a lot of people had the flu. Esther went and got checked for the flu this winter. He didn't have the flu, but he had his lungs was kind of bothering him, you know, and he was sick, a little bit sick. Sounds just like what the COVID was. And I've heard of EMTs that got tested, and they said they had it. They had the COVID. They just didn't know. It's just a kind of flu that came. Then they waited till it started kind of dying down. And there's some leader in Africa. He's like a award-winning chemist or something like that. He's a biologist. So he ain't no just fly-by-night guy. But he told his people, he said, he tested a papaya, a fruit papaya. He tested a goat and some other things, and they all come back having COVID-19. So he said, look here, man, the tests are flawed. A lot of stuff's flawed. I don't know anybody that's had it. I mean, I know one guy that's had it. And about a week later, he's fine. If we catch it here at church, you know, sit and breathe hard for a week, then you'll have immunities, you'll be better. And if it takes you out, then we'll see you in heaven, you know. Why is everybody hanging on so hard for, you know? But the world is turning against the church quick. Church is turning against the church quick. The church is opening back, about half the attendance. You meet these Christians that's not been in church 2 months, they're in their backslidden state, that something just ain't right about them. Rodney Howard-Brown kept his church open in Florida. He said just on his website. And of course the sheriff come arresting him, shut his church down and everything. In Florida. Just on his website, he got 80,000 death threats. Not 8,000, not 800, 80,000. That's almost a UT ball game stadium full of people. Death threats just on his website. People don't even go to websites anymore. They go on Facebook, but on his website. He got 80,000 death threats. And they shot at his church. People shot at his church because he kept church open. The church in Mississippi, I don't know if you've seen it yesterday, church in Mississippi got burnt down because they wouldn't close their churches. And people painted, I guess you'll shut your church down now once you hypocrites. They spell hypocrites wrong and everything. And Kingsport, just right down the road, Phil Kidd never closed his church down. He said, man, the death threats he got, so, oh my goodness. And they shot at his church, blew the windows out of his fellowship hall. And he preached one sermon. It's a good one to look up if you ever. He's Phil Kidd. Phil dash, or not dash, space, Kidd. It's like Billy the Kid with an extra D. And he preached, man, ever since this has been going on, he's been, just going off about everything. And he said, man, I'm getting death threats, I'm losing friends. And he's like, people was fussing at me everywhere I go. He said, if I known I'd upset you that bad, he said, I would have preached it a long time ago. You know? But he's, persecution. And that's why I ain't flaunt this that where church has been open. Because I didn't want us to get our windows busted out, get kicked out of the building, whatever. I didn't want everybody to be threatened and stuff. But we've had cops sit outside our parking lot. One Thursday night, they see her light shining in the door all night. One Sunday morning, the cop was harassing us going in and out. Filming our, looked like he was getting everybody's tag number or something. That's why we had to put the laws on the windows that we're essential. And I've never seen a unified spirit against the church like I seen today. I never dreamed I'd see it. And devil's slick. He pulled a virus. You talk to pastors and They're being, you can understand it. Like, look, we just don't want to get nobody sick. If we got somebody sick, we'd feel so bad. But you absolutely are drying people up spiritually. And people's going to hell because ain't nobody hearing the gospel. And now people's replaced church with the online. And trust me, there is nobody in a 100-mile radius that's listening to more online church than I have. It's not the same. Coming here, I don't know. We can watch the best churches in the world on TV and the internet and stuff, but coming here, you'll get more out of it. And that's just because that's the way God set it up. And it's scary times. And like I preached last night, if y'all's here, you better be careful what spirit you're following. And because you want to be following God through all this. Because they said last days there's going to be a lot of deception. If possible, even the very elect will be deceived. And some people translate that it's impossible for the elect to be saved. I don't. I translate that if possible, he's going to get you. And I hope I'm wrong. But I'm going to start out and go ahead and get these 2 verses out of the way. The Bible does say that we are to obey authority. We're supposed to be the best citizens on the planet. Christians are supposed to be the best citizens in Bean Station. And honestly, we are. We got the lowest crime rate. You know, all these goobers saying, we need to tax the churches. We need to tax the churches. Well, listen, we save you a lot of money because for everybody here that's not in prison right now, it saves the taxpayers about $60,000 a year. So we're already paying our taxes by keeping people out of prison, keeping people out of jail. And at our jobs, we're supposed to be the best workers, compliant. And I had a man tell me one time, I tell my boss like it is. I'll let him tell me. I said, how many raises have you got? He goes, I've never had a raise. I said, exactly. And but there comes a line to when they tell you, what they tell you, the government, your boss, authority, tells you something contrary to what God tells you. God's first. Amen. And that's where I'm going to stand. And I honestly believe, unless there's a big, quick change, that we'll be facing getting our heads cut off soon. And I don't want nobody to understand my voice not being ready for that. I don't want nobody being scared. I'm excited. I would rather die instead of laid up in the bed or something like that. I'd rather die than get killed for Christ. Man, what a way to meet God, knowing that you died for Him. Yeah. And I respect the veterans that got their heads blown off. I mean, I got 3 kids. I got 2 boys. I couldn't imagine losing them to fight a war. I mean, I could see them sitting off for war for our freedom. And look at all the millions of people in America that would die for our freedom. Not every war is for our freedom. I'm not saying that. A lot of them were. The Revolutionary War was. Those people gave their lives so we have a free country. I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm going to appreciate it. I'm not going to be one to give it up easy. So I really, really like my freedom. I like going to bed when I want to go to bed. You don't never know when that's going to be. I like getting up when I want to get up. You don't never know when that's going to be. I work from home. I don't answer to too many people. I like that. I really like freedom. And God wants man to have freedom, but He did set up a chain. Like I'm pastor. You know, we don't have no deacons. Ain't going to have them. But I don't know. That wasn't a real good example. We really ain't got no. But the church was set up apostles, prophet, teachers. You know, they had the helps and government and all that. You know, you had your roles and offices and stuff. And you know, you go to your jobs. You have the general manager, the shift leader, and all that. That's okay. God set that up. Some of y'all was in the military. Man, if it was chaos, if you didn't obey your command stuff, the military would be junk. And, you know, some little country like the Dominican Republic come here and whoop us if we didn't have a good, solid, obedient military. So being obedient to a point is good. It's godly. Okay, let's get into scriptures. So having your conversation honest, among the Gentiles, that whereas they speak against you as evildoers, they may be by your good works, which they shall be glorified, they shall behold, glorify God in the day of visitation. Submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, whether it be to the king as supreme or to governors, as unto them that are sent by him for punishment of evildoers, and for the praise of them do well. I'm going to tell you right now, I've only been arrested once in my life. That was wrong place, wrong time. I've got a lot of speeding tickets, but I'm not a rebel. Rebellion is a form of witchcraft. Not what we're getting into, but just being a rebel for, not 1776 rebellion, but just a rebel like, I'm going to break all the rules, just for the sake of breaking rules. But Peter's saying here he wants people to say good about us. He wants people to talk good about us. Because of these scriptures right here, this Romans 13, people went into countries to their leaders and said, look, let the gospel in. It says we are to obey our rulers. And the leader would look at that's what it says. Come on in. So it's got its. But we want to keep it in context, though. For it's so the will of God that with well-doing you may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men. How can people say anything bad about us if we're just being good citizens? We're doing what we're supposed to. We don't steal. We don't rob. We pay our taxes, Don't everybody amen me on that one like once. I don't pay no more than I have to. I did get $1 back from the IRS where I overpaid $1. I do try to make sure I don't cheat them though, because one time I got behind, boy, they lit me up. I mean, I was trying to pay them too, and they just said, there ain't no trying to it. We're going to take everything you got. But this is the Constitution of the United States, America. So this is the law of the land. This is number one law of the land. How many policemen, military, and all that is sworn to uphold this? I see that slipping. I see them being disobedient. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of a religion. That's what everybody was in 1776 got their heads blown off. Or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. This is the law of the land, okay? Or bridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for redress of grievances. We're allowed to protest the government, you know that. We're allowed to protest the government, and they can't touch religion, and they can't keep us from assembling. I believe they're breaking Constitution here lately, aren't they? And the sad thing is, the absolute heartbreaking thing is, the churches are championing it. Don't you know that 10 people in New York went to church and 10 people got the corona and some of them died? Yeah, don't you know they had like 6,000 people that went to that church too? And it's also at the liberal place. It seems like being the only place where everybody's got the stuff, Anyway, Romans 13. There's a church that preached against us for having service, said we was going to hell because we didn't obey Romans 13. So we're going to get this in context. So I want to make sure y'all know you ain't going to hell if we're going to church. So let every soul be subject to the higher powers. That's fine. Police come, don't speed, I won't speed. Don't spit on people, don't beat people up. Okay, I don't do that. Bible tells me not to do that anyway. Don't obey the laws. Hey, man, I ride a motorcycle, I'll put a helmet on, Remember we used to ride in the back of trucks, no helmets or nothing. Remember we used to ride in the hatchbacks, no seat belts. And I remember, man, back in the day, this wasn't really a good thing or nothing, but they wouldn't even pull you over for DUI or nothing. I remember being in a car as a little kid and people be drinking, and they, checkpoint, and they just put a lid on the ball, put it under the truck, and the cop, they knew. You roll that window down, man, they'd get high off the older alcohol, and they let you on down the road. And I remember being a little bitty kid riding to church on a motorcycle. I had a helmet on. I don't think my papa did. We had a lot more freedom then. We remember a little bit more danger, and there wasn't no car seats or nothing. But we did have more freedom. But as people gets wilder and gets meaner and everything, the laws get stronger and stronger and stronger. But they went too far with this shutting the church down thing. Let every soul be subject to higher power, for there's no power but of God. The powers that be ordained, are ordained of God. Now listen, I don't mean it was God's will for the royalty to always, like in England, to always get everybody's money and to never let nobody else be king or nothing. God just says, hey, you got a ruler, you got people under them, people under them. It didn't say just because they're there, they're the ones God wants. You get what you get, but it don't mean God put them there. And a lot of people's mistranslated that. That's why you got all them snotty royalty over there in Europe and stuff. You know, they got enough money to wipe out world starvation, poverty, in a snap of a finger. But no, they spend it all on their castles and their extravagant events and all this stuff, you know. It's junk, you know. Oh, the splendor, the royalty. I'm not, you know. But just because they're kings don't mean that's what God wants them there, you know. Whoever therefore resists the power resists the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive themselves damnation. You know, that don't mean you have church because the government told you not to, you're going to hell. You know what that means? That means you speed, you get a speeding ticket. That means you kill somebody, you're going to get killed. That means you rob somebody, you're going to go to jail for it. You hold up a bank with a gun, you're going to go to prison for it. You rape somebody, you go to jail for it. Today you'll go to jail for it for a couple years, you know. What's some more crimes? You know, you DUI, you get caught drinking, driving, wreck, hit people, you go to jail for it. You pay big fines for it. That's what that's talking about. Not going to church because the government told you not to, then you're going to hell. For rulers are not terror to good works. The cops don't harass me. They don't bother me until they know to be wasting their time. I'm not bragging on myself or nothing, but I'm just live a Christian life. I'm not into no crime. They never harassed me until we had church that one Sunday, you know. But to the evil. They're not terror to good works, but to the evil. Now, if you're in the meth world or the drug world or the party scene, you have to worry about the police all the time. Will thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise the same. You know, so just be a good citizen. You ain't got to worry about these people. You know, the Romans at first wasn't no trouble to the Christians at all. Later they was. Nero kind of started where he'd tie them up to a pole. I need some candlelight tonight. And he'd tie them, give me a Christian, tie them up to a pole and set them on fire, and that'd be his candlelight. They got pretty bad there for a while. But at first, they said, man, the Christians are better citizens than everybody else. They ain't caused us no problem. Jesus didn't come cause the Romans no problems. That's why they didn't fight us too bad at first. Okay, so for he is to minister God to thee for good. But thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God and revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Okay, like I said, you break the law, you get punished. That's fine. Wherefore, you must needs be subject not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. I don't want to be a thief, liar, DUI drinker, so I want my conscience clear if the cops catch me or not, you know. It's nice to get pulled over and knowing you ain't done nothing. And I can't say I've always lived that lifestyle, you know. For this cause, I want to tell you a quick story. I had a friend one time, he was in a drug scene, and he quits. Him and his wife is divorced, and he was afraid he wouldn't lose his kids. So he quit everything cold turkey. He's doing real good. And him and his wife was splitting up, whatever. So he went to her house and got all his kitchen stuff. And he loved to cook, you know. So he went and got a bunch of food and herbs and everything. And he said, look, I don't want to take all this with me. I think he's staying with his parents. He said, I want to take some of these herbs. So he got some baggies out and poured some oregano, some thyme, some basil, you know. I mean, he got like 10 bags. And he just put them in his coat pockets, pant pockets, stuff. And where he had a drug pass, he left my house and the cops pulled him over. He was driving like a late model Firebird or some real nice red car. And they pulled him over, man, they slung him on that hood, patted him down, what's this? And they pulled out a bag of green stuff. And they said, what is that? And they sniffed it, goes, that's oregano. He goes, yeah. He said, it's oregano. He said, I just got my food for my wife today. We're splitting up. Patted him down again, another pocket. What's this? That smells like thyme. He goes, it is thyme. It's just herbs. That's all it is. It ain't pot or nothing. And they pulled out all 10 bags. And I mean, he had stuffed everywhere. And they couldn't find no pot or nothing, and they said, man, you are a walking kitchen. When they had to let him go, That's a true story. Wherefore you must needs be subject, only for wrath also conscience sake. For this cause pay you tribute also, for they God's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Now, I think back in his day when they wrote that, they only paid 10% taxes. We pay a whole lot more, but in kind of a defense, everybody complains about paying too much taxes. We get an income tax back at the end of the year, and sometimes that's more than what we've paid all year in taxes, so sometimes we really don't pay any taxes. But anyway, I don't know, taxes are different issue. But Jesus said, but given a seizure, that's seizures. But it's a shame, though, that they have been wasting all our money, And I tell you, people got on, if you get on the government's dole where they have to pay, where you do business with them, boy, you get rich. And that's why our medicine's so high now and everything, because they know it's going to get paid for, so they're going to charge as high as they can. I sell on eBay. If the government told me, I got a call today, said, every action figure you put up for sale, we'll buy it. We'll pay for it. I'll say, okay. And before I get off the phone, I've done raised the prices on everything to about $1,000 an action figure. And that's what happens when people make deals with the government. So that's why we're in bad trouble right now. So we're about to have our currency crushed. That's why they're giving all this free money away to everybody. $900 a week not to go back to work. That's to kill businesses. That's to kill our currency. We're getting a lot of debt. We're in debt about 3 times more than we're worth right now. You can't. It's unsustainable. They're getting us ready for digital.
Do you know what that number is?
It's 666.
It's 060606.
That's the Microsoft's. It's brilliant because our paper money really don't have value. It ain't enough gold and silver to take care of 8 billion people. So a digital currency in your body that's built off what you do, how much work you do, is how much you get paid, how much it's worth. It builds currency. Brilliant. But there's only one problem with it. Revelation 13. It tells about the mark of the beast. There's no problem with it. Everything you see is 666, 666, 666. I'm like, it's in our face. And I hate these preachers going around saying, that's conspiracy theory. It ain't conspiracy theory. It's coming out of their own mouth. You have Bill Clinton, governor of New York, governor of California, on TV talking, and it's coming out of their mouth. It ain't deep fakes or nothing. They're saying we got to build an army in every state of 5,000 to 7,000 people, and we'll call them contact tracers. And they're going to go around. If you've got COVID, they make you stay at home, and everybody you've been around has to quarantine everything. Like COVID's just the worst thing ever. People getting AIDS all over the place. They don't never say nothing. They celebrate that lifestyle. And you think, well, Americans won't enforce stuff like that. Americans might not. Why do you think we're getting immigrants by the millions upon millions? And don't think a lot of immigrants we're getting won't kill us. Because we bombed their countries for about 20 years, and then we let them over here, and they're like, it's revenge time. I asked DR how that mercury tasted, or that it was in his system. They said, well, no way, it's something you ate. It's something that was put. I asked somebody else in here, I'm afraid to say the name because they might be in high, I don't know. They had a $50,000 bounty on their head if people in America won't kill you. You know, we're living in a time where all this stuff can happen very easy. And I've prayed about it. I think we're here. I don't see it reversing at all. Render therefore their dues, tributes due, custom, fear to who fear, honor to whom honor. Owe no man anything but to love one another, for he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. Okay, so that's the tool everybody's using against us, Christians especially. You got to obey Romans 13. Romans 13. I've said this a lot here. Who wrote Romans 13? Come on, people. Who wrote Romans 13? Paul. Who killed Paul? But according to the church history and stuff, it ain't in the Bible, but according more likely, who killed Paul?
I think it was Nero.
Romans.
The Romans.
The Roman government.
Romans 13. Who wrote it? Paul. Who killed Paul? The Romans. Why did the Romans kill Paul?
Because he refused to stop preaching.
Because he didn't obey the government. The law was contradicted. So Paul wrote Romans 13. Romans killed him because he didn't obey. He didn't apply Romans 13 when it comes to the gospel. Never forget that. People even read the Bible. But, okay, speaking of Daniel, you talking about Daniel already. Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. He said, I'm going to kill every wise man in this country if you can't tell me what the dream was. And he didn't even tell him what the dream was. How can we interpret it? We don't know what the dream was. But Daniel said, look, man, I've got a God that knows what you dream, the interpretation, everything. And God gave Daniel the dream, interpretation, and all that. And then there's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And Nebuchadnezzar built a big old, huge, tall statue out in the middle, whatever, near Babylon. And he told everybody, when you hear music and stuff, you bow down to it. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did. And they was not bad citizens. They was respectable. But when it comes to time to disobeying their God, no, we ain't doing that. So they got a fiery furnace ready. And they threw them in the fiery furnace, and it didn't kill them. And Jesus was there with them because they said the Son of God. And then what did Nebuchadnezzar do? He made them like leaders and stuff. And if they were mean the whole time, then Nebuchadnezzar wouldn't make them leaders, because they were respectful, good citizen. They just was disobedient in this one area. But when they survived the furnace, and then they got put leaders. Went down the road, Daniel, or the book of Daniel is named after, he was a high power too. He was a big leader because he was such an obedient guy, a good person that had no flaws or nothing. And the other governors and stuff were jealous, so they got a little plot, like the virus, COVID-19, they all plotted together and said, we'll make a decree that nobody's allowed to pray to any gods for 30 days. And we'll make King Darius, so they talked to King Darius, they tricked him and said, look, let's make a decree, nobody's pray to a God 30 days, in allegiance to you or something like that. And he's all right. And Daniel's like, dang, man. And so they seen Daniel praying 3 times a day, so they told the king. King's like, man, they didn't want to kill Daniel because he liked Daniel, because Daniel was obedient in context, Romans 13. But because Romans 13 went too far, and they started saying you can't worship God, Daniel's like, oh, I'll just soon be killed. And honestly, I'd just soon be killed. Yeah, I don't want to die no other way right now, but I'd soon be killed and not be able to worship God like I want to. And so they took Daniel and put him in a lion's den. And it said that the king prayed all night. He hated it because Daniel was such a good citizen. He hated it. He fasted and prayed all night that no harm would come to Daniel. Next day he checked, guess what? No harm did come to Daniel. But guess what happened? Those ones that tricked, that made the COVID-19 plot against Daniel, them and their kids and everything were killed. And the lions tore them all to pieces. And Daniel was elevated that much more. So see, we are to be good citizens. We're not supposed to be just pure rebels and smarty pants and hateful and everything. We're supposed to be good citizens. But when it comes that time, when they cross the line, they say, hey, you can't worship God, you can't go to church, you can't assemble together. So, well, that's where we might have a problem. That's where you can throw Romans 13 in the trash, because it don't apply to that. Okay. Who was Jesus' enemies? Talk about Romans 13. Who was Jesus' enemies when he was on this earth?
The leaders of the synagogues. The
leaders of the synagogue. They were leaders. Chief priests. The chief priests were leaders. They had the power to kill him anytime they wanted to. They tried to kill him at least 12 times. It's recorded. Okay? You had the scribes. They were kind of up there. Lawyers. Had the Pharisees and Sadducees. They were authorities. Especially the chief priests. They could do whatever they wanted to you. And did Jesus, he called them snakes, vipers. Romans 13 didn't apply to them because they were enemies of the gospel. Enemies of the gospel anything that's an enemy of the gospel, Romans 13 does not apply to it. Okay, and that's Jesus. That's who we follow. It's our Savior. It's our Lord. That's God. That's the Son of God. That is God. Okay, I wrote down a few examples of some other Christians in the New Testament They didn't obey Romans 13. The wise men, Herod told them, go find the baby, come back to me so I can worship him. The wise man, being wise, said, he ain't going to worship this baby. He's going to kill it. We're just going to go back to the house and not tell him where that baby's at. They were defiant to the king. They were broke Romans 13. What they did was right. Okay? John the Baptist, he told Herod, you shouldn't be married to your brother's wife. You're committing adultery by being with your brother's wife. Herod didn't mind it that bad. Herod liked John the Baptist, but his wife had him killed, So Herod didn't really, John the Baptist didn't apply Romans 13 real good to that situation. Jesus went to the temple where the chief priests were with a whip, overturned the money changers, flipped their tables, and he said he run off the people that bought and sold and bought. And he said, you made my father's house a den of thieves. My father's house leads to a house of prayer. That applies here. God is not against buildings. Why did the early church have it in a lot of people's houses? They had it in temples too. It said they had it in temples daily. Imagine a day and time where there wasn't no railroads, there wasn't no semi-trucks. How are you going to get thousands of bricks from point A to point B? Usually you had to do it by horse. How many commercial buildings do you think they had for rent back in them days when it's a little bit hard to make houses and buildings? So they met in people's houses, and they did meet in buildings too. But today we have the luxury of meeting here so we don't get mosquito bit, sunburnt, freeze bit, wind blowing our stuff everywhere. We don't get lightning struck and rained on and ticks and everything. There's a reason we got a building. It's called common sense. And we can invite sinners here and not have to invite them to our house. And all you all is welcome. Every single one of you is welcome to my house. I'm just saying, the meth addicts we invite here, they're welcome here. I don't really want them in my house, though. I don't have much, but I don't want, And so that's another reason we have buildings. Okay? Then we have Jesus shucking the corn. He done that. They weren't supposed to do that. That was against their man-made tradition laws. Him and his disciples didn't wash dishes and wash their hands before they ate. The Pharisees crazy for that. That was breaking a law. That was breaking the Romans 13. The mark of the beast. The government, one more government's going to force us to get a mark in our right hand or in our forehead or number of his name or something. And we're going to be forced to take it. The Bible teaches if you take it, you've lost your soul. There ain't no $1 say apply to mark the beast. You get it, you're gone. And it will change your DNA. It will change your mind. It will change everything. And I'm telling you today, watch our little kids in here. Kids don't bother me. I don't care how wild they are, because I'm telling you, they're all wild. They'll bounce off the walls. They might drive you crazy, but I still want them here. And why are they like that? When we was kids, Mom, when you started teaching early 70s, was that when you started teaching? Late 70s. Sorry. Yeah, I was a year old before she started teaching. Was the kids more calm or was they more wild? Did they have ADHD in the late 70s bad or when you were tired bad? They were worse when you were tired, weren't they? And how many like teachers has come told you that ADHD is like every kid that got's ADHD or autistic or something? That wasn't like it when you was started.
Never heard of autistic children.
Yeah. So why it's happened? Something's coming in us that's messing the kids up. They can't sit still. Ezra, I've watched him literally jump on the bed and his legs go in the air and he's asleep like instantly. He jumps until he's asleep and he just falls like. And he ain't been still 2 seconds. Even in his sleep, he ain't real still. And something's strange about that. Because when I was a baby, my mama said I'd sit and just twist a knob all day and stuff, and so I wouldn't get up and hardly do nothing. And you see every kid's like that comes here. They're just wild, man. And something we're doing to them that's messing with their DNA and everything. So what do you think this mark of the beast, this system, going to do? There's videos out where Pentagon. They had people there saying, hey, we give radical Muslims these shots and stuff, and it'll kill the religious censors, and it won't be radical about religion or nothing. I guarantee that's going into the shots and everything. So that's why the Bible said there has to be a reason when you get that mark, you've lost your soul. It's going to change everything about you. For one, turn your back on God. And I want to tell you people, look how smart the government is. I was warned a long time ago, the government wants everybody under their control. We're all under it, some form or another. I had to take my kids to the doctor, the government pays for it. If I lose that, they had to go to the doctor, like $1 million, they break their arm or something. A lot of you all is on medication. If you don't have it, you fall over dead as a hammer. They've got you. I'm not saying quit taking it either. I want you around. But I'm saying they got us. They got us. And ain't many people that's 100% government control free. Ain't many people at all. And so they got us. You don't take the mark of the beast, you're going to have to make a choice. You know, what about my diabetes? What about taking my kids to the doctor? What about this? What about food? You can't buy, sell, or nothing. What about my head? I kind of like have my head on my shoulders, but it's going to be cut off if I don't take it. Something to think about, because the Bible's, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, whether it's now or 100 years down the road, whatever, it's going to happen. You know, people was waiting forever for Jesus came. Guess what? He came. But Noah waited a long time for that flood to come. Guess what? It came. And Revelation 13, Matthew 24, it's going to come. Guess what? I think it's here. So what else? Okay, Matthew 23, the whole chapter is red letters. Jesus going off on the Pharisees. Not 24, 23. The whole chapter is dedicated to him just verbally beating the fire out of them Pharisees. Okay, and then when Jesus was before Pilate and Herod, they'd ask him a question, he just go, yeah, answer thou nothing, you know. He just snubbed them. They want to see miracles. He broke Romans 13 because he's like, look, I'm turning myself over to you guys. You ain't got the power of me. I got the power over you. And like I told you earlier, the chief priest tried to kill Jesus at least 12 times. It's recorded, you know. And why they trying to kill him? Because he wasn't doing what they said. He was doing the absolute opposite. And they were the authority. They were the government for the most part. Okay, Acts 4, verse 13. This is a pattern that's through Acts. I've only got 2 verses and I'm almost done. They preach the gospel. Lots of people get saved. Signs and wonders. Persecution. Deaths, killing, stoning, sticks, everything. Go to the next town. Preach the gospel. People get saved. Signs and wonders. Persecution. Deaths, killing. Go to the next town. That's all Acts is. And you hardly see them one time obey Romans 13. But it said, now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived they were unlearned and ignorant men, they marveled and took knowledge of them that they had been with Jesus. Let's talk about the chief priests and stuff. And behold, the man which was healed standing with them, they could say nothing against it. But when they had commanded them to go aside out of the council, they conferred among themselves, saying, what shall we do these men? For they indeed a noble miracle have been done by them. It's manifest to all them that dwell in Jerusalem. We cannot deny it. But that it spread no further among the people, let us straightly threaten them that they speak henceforth to no man in this name. So he's saying you can't preach the gospel. Tell them we can't preach about Jesus no more. We're commanding you that. And they called them, commanded them not to speak at all, nor teach in the name of Jesus. So the government said, hey guys, Romans 13, we telling you don't preach about Jesus. Don't go have church. But Peter and John answered and said to them, whether it be right in the sight of God to hearken to you, or more than unto God, judge ye. What do you think I should do? Obey the government or obey God? For we cannot but speak the things which we have seen and heard. So he said, look, you're not going to keep us from preaching the gospel. We obey the government, but you've crossed the line when you give us that command. And I really think the outside church, the car church, wasn't a bad idea. We was going to do it here, but we seen it was going to rain. That was the least trying to keep it alive. But you keep doing that forever and ever, that's a compromise. And online church, it might have got some people that hadn't listened to the gospel much, and some people listen to it. That's okay. But if that replaced your assembling together, you're a compromiser.
Yes.
And Jesus wants us to be together. And if every one of us here gets COVID, guess what? They ain't going to kill probably none of us. We would just be sick with our lungs for a week or two. And then we're done with it. We get back on with our lives. We'll have immunity and stuff. It's not that bad. Only one person I know had it, and we give him a week, and he was back to normal. It wasn't nothing. Now he's just going to be treated like he got the plague his whole life. There's Acts 5. Then the high priest rose up, and all they that were with him, which is the sect of the Sadducees, and were filled with indignation. Boy, you just make me mad having that church. Don't you know what the governor said? New York governor said, or the mayor said, if we catch you having church, we will shut it down for good. Every church in New York should have went after that guy. They should have. That's what the Second Amendment's for. And that wouldn't have flied around here at all. I think we would have woke up. Wake up, New York, you know. And laid their hands on apostles and put them in the common prison. But the angel of the Lord by night opened the prison doors and brought them forth and said, go stand speak in the temple to the people all the words of this life. So government said, shut up, quit teaching about Jesus. Ezra, you shut up. Zip it. I'm trying to tell you, I don't want to hear you. And then the angel's like, come here, guys, I'll help you out. So you think God ain't going to help us out if we stand strong in all this? We're going to get persecution. I'm telling you right now, we're going to get persecution. But you'd rather be here. I'm almost done. I'm just going to go over some real quick stuff. You'd rather be here sitting under people that's taking this seriously. That people that's like, look, man, we're in the end days. This is the last time we need to be cowards. This ain't the time to, you know, I don't want to be under the ministry of the churches that hands you ice cream in one hand and a coffee drink in the other hand and play games to get you in church. And then when the COVID comes, they're out the road. You know, the Bible talks about in John, it says when the false shepherd, whatever, when the wolf comes, the wolf's the devil. It said the thief comes up to steal, kill, and destroy. That's not talking about the devil, that's talking about the false shepherd. When the wolf comes, that shepherd's out the door. The wolf was the devil. COVID-19 is the devil. Look how many shepherds hit the road once this thing come. They left their people hanging. And that was my biggest concern is my church not having meetings for 2 or 3 months. Because I know what would happen to me if I didn't have church 2 or 3 months. I'd get very weak. And I didn't want to see this church getting weak. And I didn't get a whole lot of persecution. For one, I didn't rub it in nobody's face. If I rubbed it in the face and flaunted it, we would have had more. But we are going to get it. It's going to come. And we better be ready for it. And you don't want to be under a fear church that's scared to death. Man, they're going to be outside till January, you know, having car church and stuff. You don't want to be under that. There's a lot of spirits you don't want to be under in the last days. Just read the Bible and you'll see. Oh, man, I want to be under some spirit like the apostles was under, like the disciples was under, like the martyrs was under. Man, not long after Acts, guess what they was doing? They was throwing, having like gladiator games, and the Christians was cat food. Christians would they'd get a metal chair, get it red hot in a fire, and then strip Christians down, throw them on it naked, and burn. And they play games with Christians' lives. They just kill them. They just enjoy killing. It's so fun. You want to face that with a skinny jean Mohawk preacher church? And I'm not against Mohawk skinny jeans. I'm just saying that because most of them seem to have Mohawk skinny jeans. You want that with a balloon watermelon church? You want to face the devil with that as your leader? You want to go to war in a battle, and now your leader's like, let's go whoop them, everybody. You know, have their cotton candy go, hey, stay away. Or do you want people's like, all right, it's on, let's do this. You know, if I was going to be in a fight, you know, I've had people, you know, I've been in a lot of fights. And I look behind and see who's with me. And if I get people behind me going, I'm going to get whooped. If I have people behind me, it's like, all right, I'm ready. So you better think about this. And I'm being serious. What, you want to face the devil for people? Let's have car church. We might can't shake hands or nothing. You know, blow your horns. If you love Jesus, you know, you want to face the devil with that kind of leadership? And another one's called the grandstanding. Well, I just don't want to make nobody sick. I don't want to be responsible for anybody getting sick. Give me a medal. Give me a medal and a trophy. Look, man, you're going to send people to hell because ain't nobody going to be hearing the gospel. Your people's going to backslide and probably take mark of the beast. We're going to have to be leaders in all this. And it's kind of embarrassing that my goober self is going to be one of them. You know, I'm like, oh, me? A leader in the end times? Oh, what in the world? But Paul the Apostle killed, not obeying Romans 13. I want to read something real quick. I'm not trying to hold this up, be long with it, but I want to read something. Where's my red phone?
Ezra, probably.
Ezra,
What?
you got my red phone?
No.
Well, anyway.
I
I might have it memorized. Okay, Paul the Apostle, head cut off. More than likely, now this stuff is legend. It's not written in the Bible. History sometimes conflicting. Death of Paul got his head cut off. Not obeying Romans 13. We've seen James in Acts as the first martyr. They stabbed him. Not obeying Romans 13. We see James, Jesus' brother. They say he was thrown off the pinnacle of the temple where Satan tempted Jesus with. We're not obeying Romans 13. Let's see, Stephen, one of the first martyrs, he was one of the first deacons, got stoned to death. Not obeying Romans 13. Andrew, the Apostle Andrew, disciple Andrew, he was hung on the X cross. They say he sat there for 3 days and preached to people while he's hung on the X, trying to get people saved before he took his last breath. Peter, hung upside down because he didn't want to be crucified like Jesus was. He didn't feel worthy because he didn't obey Romans 13. These warriors, these men, it's the kind of spirit I want. Then we have Bartholomew. You know, I think he was filleted to death or whatever. Thomas, they come down. Thomas, oh no, Thomas went to India and took that country by storm. His church is still there. 2,000-year-old church. I think Catholics got a hold of it, but it's still there. But he got speared. They killed him speared. Matthias, you know, he took over Judas' spot. He was killed. All the disciples killed. John, Revelator, they don't believe that he believed he died naturally, but that's not after he was exiled to the Isle of Patmos. Well, they messed up doing that, didn't they? We wouldn't have warning about the Antichrist. He was boiled alive in oil. That sounds like nothing I want to do, but he survived it. How'd you like to be boiled alive in oil? You know, we think about that when you're frying chicken or something. That's what they did John Revelator. And, you know, the early church, all the martyrs that's ever died, died but not obeying Romans 13. I want to be under that spirit. Not because I want to just give my life away. I want to be in a spirit that's like, I'd rather die than shut me up about Jesus.
Amen.
I'd rather die, honestly, Christine, than to be muffled and only do online car church.
Amen.
That ain't gonna. I have heard testimonies. I got a friend. He preached out in the park the other day, and somebody heard it. They got saved and stuff. But they should be preaching in the park anyway. We should be preaching out in public anyway. I know online has helped a little bit. People's listening, but still, Jesus said. They said in Hebrews, don't forsake the assembling of yourself together. So be careful what spirit you follow in these last days. I'm done. So somebody talk.